24 and counting.
January 2024. Novak Djokovic just won his 24th Grand Slam title.
2023 U.S. Open champion, Novak Djokovic.
Breaking yet another record that people said he'd never reach. And you know what happened after he lifted that trophy? The crowd at the U.S. Open gave him a standing ovation. Finally, after nearly 2 decades of being the villain, the outsider, the guy nobody wanted to root for, he got his moment. But here's the thing. He didn't need their approval to become the greatest of all time. He'd already done it. The numbers don't lie, even if the fans tried to deny it for years. 24 Grand Slam titles, more than Roger Federer, more than Rafael Nadal, more than anyone who's ever played men's tennis. And yet, for most of his career, Djokovic has been the most hated champion in the sport, not because he wasn't good enough, because he was too good.
I don't need to play anything special, you know? I don't need to play anything special. You know, everybody thinks, you know, Nadal, for sure, he's the best on this surface, but he's not unbeatable, that's for sure. I realized that because I think I could win today. You know, I have to say that even though that he's the best and everybody thinks that he's unbeatable, I say he's not unbeatable, he's beatable.
And because he refused to play the game the way everyone wanted him to.
I didn't think Novak Djokovic had this in him anymore.
Whenever the time comes, reflect on Djokovic's career, I will remember his greatness.
So how did a kid from war-torn Serbia become the most successful tennis player in history while also becoming the most controversial?
I mean, it's not the guy who's never given up in his career, you know, so that's kind of disappointing to see, you know, when you got 2 top guys playing each other and you give up. I mean, he gave up against me in Monaco this year because of last year because of sore throat. Yes, I mean, those are kind of things, you know, you wonder about.
Let's go. Well, to understand Novak Djokovic, you have to understand where he came from. And trust me, it wasn't the pristine tennis academies of Switzerland or the sunny courts of Spain. Djokovic grew up in Belgrade, Serbia, during the NATO bombing campaign of 1999.
The country he'd been born into, Yugoslavia, was coming apart quickly and violently. Did you realize that when you started climbing the tennis ladder, that your country was falling down?
Yes, that was the period that nobody likes to remember.
While other future tennis stars were perfecting their backhands at elite training facilities, 11-year-old Novak was practicing against a wall in a bomb shelter.
In 1999, as the conflict spread to the province of Kosovo, the Americans and other NATO countries bombed Serbia for 78 days and nights.
Listening to explosions overhead.
The Djokovic family took shelter in Belgrade.
We were very scared, everybody was very afraid because the whole city was under attack.
A šta najviše voliš u tenisu?
Pa najviše volim u tenisu forehand, backhand i volej. S njim pobeđujem protivnike.
Šta ti je cilj u tenisu?
Cilj u tenisu mi je da postanem prva.
His first coach, Jelena Gencic, found him by literally following the sound of a ball hitting concrete, over and over.
Jelena Gencic was running a tennis camp there, spotted this kid watching from the fence. She handed him a racket, and within a few days, she knew.
Did you think he could be a champion?
Yes.
Right away?
Right. And I told to parents, your child is a golden child.
A golden child?
He will be the best in the world.
And he was 6.5 then?
5.5. They couldn't believe, they were in shock.
While air raid sirens blared. That's not talent. That's obsession.
I was dreaming about Wimbledon, I was visualizing Wimbledon, and as a kid I remember I took a little improvised trophy that I think I made from the little piece of plastic. I kind of lift that trophy and I said in English, "Hello, my name is Novak Djokovic and I'm a Wimbledon winner."
That's a kid who understood from the very beginning that tennis wasn't just a sport. It was his way out. And that mentality, that relentless drive that came from surviving literal war, would define everything about Djokovic's career. Because unlike Federer with his graceful one-handed backhand and aristocratic demeanor, or Nadal with his warrior spirit and beloved underdog story, Djokovic was different. He was the outsider, the guy who didn't fit the narrative tennis fans wanted. By 2007, Djokovic was already making noise. At just 20 years old, He beat the top 3 players in the world in the same tournament in Montreal. He took down Andy Roddick, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer back-to-back-to-back. The tennis world was put on notice. But instead of celebrating this young talent, fans treated him like an interruption. Because 2007 was supposed to be about Federer and Nadal, the graceful maestro versus the relentless warrior. That rivalry was selling tickets and making headlines. Djokovic? He was the third wheel nobody asked for, but he didn't care. In 2008, he won his first Grand Slam at the Australian Open, beating Federer in the semi-finals in straight sets.
The family can hardly believe it. Djokovic can believe it. He's been telling everyone he's going to arrive at this moment.
He was 20 years old and he just ended Federer's streak of 10 consecutive Grand Slam finals.
I don't look forward to playing my best tennis against Novak Djokovic. I look forward to playing to win, and that's what my mindset is, really.
He's being #1 player of the world for a while. And the players, started playing in a different way against him, with a more belief that they can win. So it's a good thing for all of us.
And you know what the crowd did? They booed him. Not because he played dirty, not because he did anything wrong, because he wasn't Roger Federer. That's when Djokovic learned his first hard lesson. He was never going to be the fan favorite, so he might as well be the champion. Now, the early years of Djokovic's career were defined by physical struggles. In that 2007 US Open semifinal against Andy Roddick, Djokovic retired in the 3rd set, down 2 sets, claiming breathing problems and fatigue.
I continue on playing, thinking that something could help me out, maybe a treatment and things like that, but it just kept coming back.
I looked over, I was confused because I thought it was 1 injury per timeout, and I saw a calf, a neck, and an arm, but I guess cramping is one condition. There's obviously some wiggle room and a little bit of gray area there.
Well, it's happened before, so it's not the guy who's never given up in his career, so that's kind of disappointing to see, when you got 2 top guys playing each other and you give up.
The crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium booed him off the court. 23,000 people calling him a quitter. Sports media destroyed him, questioning his toughness, his heart, his commitment.
I don't like it. I don't like a quitter. And I don't think, to be honest, that Djokovic was suffering that much.
To the other players in the world, he was a little bit of a laughingstock physically. They were quite rude about him.
Novak, is this the most disappointing moment of your career?
Did it enter your head that you might face a lot of tough questions if you did retire from the match?
Is it possible that you need to develop a greater trust in your body?
And here's where things get interesting. Because that humiliation became fuel, Djokovic completely overhauled his body. He went gluten-free after a nutritionist told him he had a wheat intolerance. People mocked him for it, called it pseudoscience. But suddenly, the guy who used to cramp up and fade in long matches was outlasting everyone. He added yoga, meditation, hyperbaric chambers. He turned his body into a laboratory and himself into the experiment. While Federer and Nadal aged like normal humans, dealing with injuries and declining speed, Djokovic seemed to reverse engineer the aging process. And that just made people dislike him more, because it wasn't natural. It wasn't romantic. It was calculated, engineered, too perfect. But the real controversy around Djokovic, it wasn't just about his diet or his training methods. It was about his personality. On court, Djokovic was known for his intensity, sure, but he was also known for his antics, the chest-thumping celebrations, the roars at the crowd, the occasional racket smash, the mock injuries that some opponents claimed were gamesmanship. In 2008, Andy Roddick accused Djokovic of faking injuries to gain an advantage. Other players whispered similar complaints. The tennis establishment didn't like it. He wasn't stoic like Federer. He wasn't humble like Nadal. He was emotional, reactive, and unapologetic. And then there was the impersonations. During matches, Djokovic would sometimes mock other players with spot-on impressions. Maria Sharapova, Andy Roddick, even Nadal's pre-serve routine. It was funny. It was entertaining. But it was also seen as disrespectful. The tennis world has always prided itself on being gentlemanly, civilized. Djokovic didn't care about those unwritten rules. But all of this, the crowd hostility, the media criticism, the constant comparisons to Federer and Nadal, it only seemed to make Djokovic stronger. Because in 2011, he had one of the most dominant seasons in tennis history. He went 43 and won to start the year. He won 3 Grand Slams. He reached world number 1 for the first time.
Did you think about that child when you won Wimbledon?
I did. When I finished the match, when I ate the piece of grass, I had a flashback of my whole childhood, what I've been through, memories, first tennis courts that I grew up on, days spent in Belgrade. It was beautiful.
And he did it by beating Federer and Nadal repeatedly on their best surfaces in their biggest moments. The 2011 US Open semifinal against Federer is the perfect example. Down 2 sets to love, Federer serving for the match at 5-3, 40-15, 2 championship points. And Djokovic hit a forehand return winner so audacious that Federer later called it lucky. Djokovic's response? When you have confidence, you have luck. He came back to win in 5 sets, one of the greatest comebacks in tennis history. That's what made Djokovic so dangerous and so frustrating for his opponents. He didn't just beat you physically, he broke you mentally. Those long rallies, that defensive ability to get everything back, that refusal to accept defeat. It drained opponents emotionally, and once that doubt crept in, the match was over. By 2015, Djokovic was untouchable. He won 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. He had one of the most dominant seasons ever. He completed the career Grand Slam. And then from 2015 to 2016, he did something even Federer and Nadal never accomplished. He held all 4 Grand Slam titles at the same time. The Knoll Slam, they called it. But even with all that success, even with the records piling up, Djokovic still didn't have the crowd. At Wimbledon, they chanted for Federer. At the French Open, they roared for Nadal. At the US Open, they wanted literally anyone else. And instead of trying to win them over with charm or false humility, Djokovic leaned into it. He fed off the hostility. He played better when they booed him. Some athletes need love to perform. Djokovic needed hate. Then came 2020. And this is where things got really controversial. During the COVID pandemic, Djokovic organized the Adria Tour, an exhibition series across the Balkans. No social distancing, players hugging at the net, packed crowds. And then, predictably, multiple players tested positive for COVID, including Djokovic himself. The backlash was immediate and brutal. He was called reckless, selfish, irresponsible, and he deserved the criticism. It was a terrible decision that endangered people's health. But what made it worse was that Djokovic didn't seem to fully grasp why everyone was so angry. He apologized, sure, but it felt hollow to many. And then came the vaccine situation. In 2022, Djokovic refused to get the COVID vaccine. His choice, his body. But that choice had consequences. He was denied entry into Australia for the Australian Open, a tournament he'd won 9 times. He was deported. The whole saga played out on international news. People protested. The Australian government got involved. It was a circus. And Djokovic became a symbol. For anti-vaxxers, he was a hero standing up for bodily autonomy. For public health advocates, he was a dangerous influence spreading misinformation. The tennis world was divided. Some players supported him, others stayed silent. And the fans? Many of them had their opinions about Djokovic confirmed. He was selfish. He thought he was above the rules. He also missed the US Open that year because of vaccination requirements. 2 Grand Slams he couldn't even play in. 2 tournaments he was favored to win. And you know what? He handled it with the same stubborn defiance he'd shown his entire career. He didn't back down. He didn't compromise. Whether you agreed with him or not, you had to admit he was consistent. But here's the thing about all these controversies: the crowd hostility, the Adria Tour, the vaccine stance, the on-court behavior. None of it changed the numbers, because when Djokovic was allowed to play, he won, and won, and won. In 2023, at 36 years old, Djokovic won 3 of the 4 Grand Slams. He won the Australian Open for the 10th time. He won the French Open, becoming the oldest Roland Garros champion in history. And then at the US Open, the tournament where fans had booed him for years, he won his 24th Grand Slam title. And finally, after all those years of being the villain, the crowd gave him a standing ovation. Now let's talk about the numbers, because this is where the GOAT debate ends. Not with opinions, not with nostalgia for Federer's elegance or Nadal's fighting spirit. With facts. 24 Grand Slam titles. More than any man in history, he's tied with Margaret Court for the all-time record across men's and women's tennis. Federer finished with 20, Nadal with 22, Djokovic has more. But it's not just the slams. Djokovic has spent over 390 weeks at world number 1. That's a record that might never be broken. Jimmy Connors is second with 268 weeks. Djokovic has been number 1 for nearly 125 weeks longer than the next guy. He's finished the year as world number 1 8 times. Another record. He's won 40 Masters 1000 titles. Another record. He's the only player to win all 9 Masters events, the career Golden Masters. He's completed the career Grand Slam twice, winning every major at least 3 times. And here's the stat that really tells the story. Djokovic has a winning head-to-head record against both Federer and Nadal. Against Federer, he's 27-23. Against Nadal, he's 30-29. He didn't just compete with the 2 greatest players of the previous generation. He beat them more often than they beat him. At 36 years old, he's still winning majors, still breaking records, still playing at a level that would make most 26-year-olds jealous. He's won 12 Grand Slams after turning 30. Federer won 4 after 30. Nadal won 8. Djokovic has won 12 and counting. The prize money? Over $180 million in career earnings. The titles? 96 ATP titles total. The dominance across all surfaces? He's won at least 3 titles at every Grand Slam tournament. On clay, on grass, on hard courts, in fast conditions, in slow conditions, day matches, night matches. He's the most complete player the sport has ever seen. And that completeness is part of why he was never the fan favorite. Because there's no weakness to root for, no tragic flaw. Federer's forehand was beautiful, but his backhand could be attacked. Nadal's forehand was devastating, but his serve had vulnerabilities. Djokovic, he doesn't have a weakness you can consistently exploit. His serve is elite. His return is the best in history. His defense is impenetrable. His movement is otherworldly. His mental toughness is unbreakable. He's saved more match points than anyone. He's won more 5-set matches from 2 sets down than anyone. When the pressure is highest, he's at his best. And that's not romantic. That's not the underdog story people want. That's a machine. That's someone who optimized every aspect of the game until there was nothing left to improve. But here's what makes Djokovic's story even more impressive. He didn't inherit the throne. He took it. Federer rose to dominance when the field was weaker. When Federer's main rivals were guys like Andy Roddick and Leighton Hewitt. Good players, sure, but not all-time greats. Nadal had Federer, but an aging Federer. Djokovic? He had to beat both Federer and Nadal in their primes, on their best surfaces, in their best years. He didn't wait for them to decline. He beat them when they were at their best. The 2011 Wimbledon final against Nadal. The 2012 Australian Open final against Nadal that lasted almost 7 hours. The 2019 Wimbledon final against Federer, where he saved match points and won in the 5th set tiebreak. Those weren't handed to him. He earned every single one. And through it all, through the booing crowds and the media criticism and the controversies and the hate, Djokovic kept the same mentality he had as a kid, hitting balls in a bomb shelter. Focus on what you can control. Block out the noise. Win. Now, does that make him likable? Not necessarily. The vaccine stance still bothers a lot of people. The Adria Tour was genuinely irresponsible. The on-court intensity can come across as arrogant. He's not Federer with the easy charm. He's not Nadal with the humble warrior persona. He's Djokovic. Complicated, controversial, uncompromising. But the GOAT conversation isn't about who you'd want to have dinner with. It's about who dominated their sport at the highest level for the longest time. And by that measure, Djokovic isn't just in the conversation. He's ended it. You can hate the way he celebrates. You can disagree with his medical choices. You can wish he smiled more, or connected better with fans, or showed more emotion when he wins. But you can't argue with 24 Grand Slam titles. You can't argue with 390-plus weeks at number 1. You can't argue with winning records against your greatest rivals. History doesn't care about your preferences, it just keeps score. And the scoreboard says Novak Djokovic. So, whether you like it or not, whether you wanted him to be the GOAT or not, whether you rooted for him or against him for the past 15 years, the numbers have spoken. Djokovic isn't just one of the greatest tennis players of all time. He's the greatest. And at 36 years old, still winning majors, still breaking records, still refusing to go away, he's not done yet. The kid from the bomb shelter became the king of tennis. Not by being loved, by being undeniable. And that might be the most fitting legacy of all. Because Novak Djokovic never needed your approval to become the GOAT. He just needed a tennis racket and a refusal to quit. 24 Grand Slams. More weeks at number 1 than anyone. More Masters titles than anyone. Winning records against the greatest players of his era. At 38 now, still one of the best players in the world. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to Primetime Sports. More content like this is on the way.